All right, let's dive into KP Energy Ltd's second quarter. We've got their brand new report in A&D, a really slick investor presentation. And, well, we're going to see what's going on, see what we can find out about how they're doing in the renewable energy market.
Yeah, they're doing some very interesting things. I think you'll be surprised.
I've heard some rumors, so let's jump right in.
Yeah.
KP Energy, they just had an amazing quarter. I mean, really impressive. We're talking record-breaking revenue, a
Yeah.
huge EE, 202 crore.
It is quite a jump, yeah. 183% higher than the same time last year.
Wow, 183%. That's almost triple.
It is. And it's not, just a fluke. It really shows how much things are changing in the renewable energy world.
So what's driving all of this? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of factors at play.
Well, governments are really getting behind renewable energy. There's a lot more support than there used to be. Plus, investors are seeing the potential. And let's be honest, people are a lot more aware of climate change these days.
Right, right. Everyone's talking about it.
Right.
So it seems like KP Energy is in the right place at the right time, A&D. They've got a good strategy.
Definitely.
But let's look at, what these numbers really mean for them. I mean, what about their financial health? What about their future? That's what we want to know.
Exactly. Well, if you look at their consolidated profit after tax, that's PAT, it hit 24.94 crore for Q2.
Okay, so that's profit after all the expenses and taxes are taken out, right?
Yeah, and that's another record. Their earnings per share, EPS, also jumped a lot from, let me see here, 1.23 to 3.74.
Wow, so more than 200% higher.
Yeah, you got it. And that's really important for people who are thinking about investing, right?
Sure.
Shows the company is doing well, and there's a good chance it'll keep doing well.
Absolutely. But for those of us who aren't, financial experts, maybe we should take a minute to explain what these terms actually mean. Like, what is EPS? What is EBITDA? These are things we hear a lot, but maybe not everyone knows exactly what they mean.
Sure. So EBITDA, that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Basically, it shows how much profit they're making from their core business before you take into account things like interest on loans and stuff like that.
So it gives you a better idea of how efficient they are, what they actually do.
Exactly, yeah. And then EPS, or earnings per share, that tells you how much of the profit goes to each share of the company's stock, and that affects how much those shares are worth. So a big jump in EPS, like we're seeing here, that's a good sign for investors.
It definitely gets their attention. But it's not all about profit. KP Energy is also making some really interesting strategic moves, like their independent power producer portfolio, their IPP, that's expanding pretty rapidly.
It is. Their goal is to reach 100 milliW capacity by the 2025-2026 fiscal year.
100 megawatts, so they're not messing around.
Nope, they're going all in.
So they're going all in on IPP. But we've got to talk about the challenges, right? I mean, come on, it can't be all good news.
Well, yeah, of course, every industry has its hurdles. I think one of the biggest things for renewable energy companies, KP Energy included, is just how, well, unpredictable things are.
When you say unpredictable, what do you mean?
I mean, the wind and the sun, you can't really control them, right? You can't just, order up some sunshine on a cloudy day.
Yeah, you can't schedule the weather.
Yeah.
So how do companies deal with that? I mean, that seems like a pretty fundamental problem.
Well, that's where energy storage comes in. It's kind of like having a giant battery.
Okay, so when the sun's shining or the wind's blowing like crazy, you store up the energy.
Exactly. And then you can release it when you need it, like when the sun goes down or the wind dies down.
So it's basically a backup generator, but instead of using, fossil fuels, it's powered by the sun and the wind. That's pretty cool.
No, it is. And these big battery systems are getting more and more important.
I bet. It sounds like a great solution. But, I mean, I'm guessing there are challenges with that too, right? I mean, rolling out these massive batteries everywhere can't be easy or cheap.
Oh, definitely not. The technology's still developing.
Yeah.
And it can be really expensive to do it on a large scale. Plus, there's, the whole issue of connecting them to the existing power grid, figuring out how to manage everything.
Right, because the power grid wasn't really designed for renewables, was it? It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah, good analogy. And then, on top of that, there's all the red tape, regulations, permits, all that stuff.
Ah, yes, the joys of bureaucracy. Always fun. But, we've been talking about these kind of technical challenges and the regulations and all that. But what about the competition? There are a lot of companies getting into renewable energy, so how does KP Energy stack up?
It's definitely getting more competitive, but KP Energy, they're doing a good job of staying ahead. They're really focused on innovation. Like, remember we talked about LiDAR?
Yeah, using lasers to find the best spots for wind farms.
Right. That's a big advantage for them. Makes them more efficient, helps keep costs down.
It's like having a high-tech treasure map for wind.
Exactly. And it's not just about technology, it's about building relationships with governments, communities, everyone involved.
So it's not just about the bottom line, it's about being a good partner.
You got it. And then there's the financial side. Managing all of this growth, it takes a lot of skill.
I can imagine, especially with these big projects.
Yeah.
How do they even pay for all of this?
Well, a lot of it is debt financing, but they have to be really careful. They need to make sure they have enough money to keep growing, but also keep things stable, keep a healthy balance sheet.
Sounds like you have to be a financial genius to make it all work.
It's not easy, that's for sure.
Okay, so we talked about the challenges, but what about the people?
Hmm.
The people who are actually making all of this happen? What kind of skills and, well, what kind of people thrive in this industry?
So it takes a special kind of person to make it in this world. It's not just about, knowing the technology. Right, you need more than that. I think one of the most important things is being able to adapt. Things change so fast in this industry. New technology, new rules, the markets are always going up and down.
So you got to be flexible, ready to change direction at a moment's notice.
Exactly. And then you got to be good with data. I mean, these renewable energy projects, they generate mountains of data.
Oh, I bet. Weather data, how much power is being generated, how the equipment's doing. I mean, it must be overwhelming.
It is. And you have to be able to make sense of it all. If you don't have the right tools, the right expertise, you're lost. It's like trying to put together a puzzle, but you're missing half the pieces.
Yeah, you're not going to get very far with that. So data analysis, that's key.
Huge. But it's not just about, crunching numbers. You have to be able to understand what it all means, see the patterns, figure out how to use the data to make things better, to make smarter decisions.
It's about turning data into action.
Right. And then, you can't do any of this alone. You got to be good at working with people. These projects, they involve so many different groups, governments, utility companies, local communities, the people who make the technology, investors.
It's like a giant puzzle with a
Mhm.
million pieces, A and D, a million people trying to put it together.
Pretty much. And if you can't build those relationships, those partnerships, you're not going to get very far. Trust is everything in this business.
Makes sense. So it takes a certain kind of personality to succeed in this world. But what about, the bigger picture? What kind of values do you think are important for people working in renewable energy?
Well, I mean, this might sound obvious, but you got to care about sustainability. You got to be passionate about making a difference. If you're just in it for the money, you're probably not going to last very long.
You're not going to be very happy either, I bet.
Yeah, you really need to believe in what you're doing, to
Yeah.
be excited about the possibility of changing the world for the better.
Right, because renewable energy, it's not just about technology, it's about creating a cleaner, healthier planet.
Exactly. And to do that, you need people who are, skilled, of course, but also people who are inspired. And let's not forget the financial side. You have to understand how to make these projects work financially. You need to be able to manage risk, to develop smart investment strategies.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Right? The passion to make a difference and the know-how to make it happen.
Exactly. It's challenging, but I think it's also incredibly rewarding. I mean, think about it. We're talking about solving one of the biggest problems facing humanity, climate change.
And KP Energy, they're definitely one of the companies leading the way.
They are. They're proving that you can be profitable and sustainable. It's not an either-or situation.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's clear that KP Energy is doing some amazing things. And you know what? They're just one example of what's happening in the renewable energy world. It's an exciting time to be in this industry. So we'll leave you with this thought. What role will you play in shaping the future of energy? Because the decisions we make today, they're going to have a huge GE impact on the world we leave behind. So keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep diving deep.